Happy Sunday, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well and everything is going your way. Oh, man, it's been a heck of a week. There's been a lot of learning, a little bit of, shall we say, off color language, and quite a few things have been discovered. Um, it, as you saw in the video this morning, I ran my very first G code here on the Avid, and I discovered a few things after the fact. A good number of them were my fault, um, just plain and simply put, because I didn't double check, triple check before I hit that button. Um, I'll get into those a little bit more later. Everything worked out fine. I mean, I've got the tabletop created, and I wanted to talk about that a little bit here. Who was it? Let me see. Somebody. Okay, here it was. Ayal Peleg was asking, aren't there any other materials that you could use as a tabletop that would not suffer from moisture, i.e., maybe some sort of plastic? Yes, there are other materials that you can use. My problem is a local problem, and that is I don't have a source for any kind of plastic, HDU, uh, or HDPE. I couldn't think of the word that a lot of other people use for their tabletops and for their spoil boards. I mean, HDPE is kind of popular. I don't have any local sources. I have to drive 270 miles in either north or south to get to the closest supplier. Now, there is a supplier a little bit closer. They have some things, but they don't have what I was looking for. The other problem comes in with attempting to glue anything to those substrates. Like HDPE, it's almost impossible to glue anything to HDPE. And this is just the tabletop. The spoil board will be glued onto the tabletop when I get my TTrack, and that was somebody else's question. That was Les Clements' question. Has my TTrack arrived yet? No. Um, I'm going with a source on Amazon and supply issues. Um, what can you say? When it gets here, I'll get it mounted. And I've done a little bit of comparison shopping. I've looked at various sources, and it runs anywhere from, depending upon the length, and I need 4 foot lengths of T-track. That's one of the holdups. Um, the prices will run anywhere from about $2.75 US per foot, up to one source was 565 for the basically the same stuff. So did a lot of comparison shopping, and when it finally gets here, I'll put it all in a video and we'll go from there. But I'm breaking it up into zones to put in the T-track. Some of it's going to be spaced closer together, some of it's going to be spaced further apart. And that's just so I can mount various different jigs and fixtures to the tabletop, to the spoil board. And it's it a spoil board is a very personalized thing, because what I'm going to do with mine may not suit somebody else. And it depends on what you're doing um, with your CNC router. So, I'm going to share my experience, and we're going to go from there. Um, I had a discussion with my wife earlier today about this entire thing, and uh, this kind of goes against my whole philosophy, is that I have a very difficult time presuming to try to teach somebody something that I'm just learning myself. I have no experience. Who the heck am I to try to offer advice to somebody else? So this is a complete and total change up in that philosophy, in that we're learning together. So I hesitate to make any recommendations or make any suggestions on most things. There are a couple of exceptions, but um, so we're kind of exploring this together. This is a bigger, more powerful machine than anything I've used in the past. So there's going to be some learning. Now, I referenced one of those in the video this morning. Let me get up here and move around. And that was when I talked about the acceleration here I got Mach 4 running, and this is fired up. Let me make certain of that. Yes, it is. The acceleration is when the machine is either starting from a standing stop like this, or moving from one area of a cut to another. Like when I did these recesses here, it would jump down and start to cut and then take off. Well, part of that was my feed rate. I had it set way too high. But the other part of that is the acceleration, because it'll go from a standing stop to move to the next point at a rate of 50 inches per second. That's over 4 feet per second. That's just way, way too fast. So I came over here into Mach 3 or Mach 4 rather. And I don't know if you can see this or not. Yeah, I'm going to be in the way. Let me bend down here. I slowed it down to 25, and it's already much better. You know, it's a lot smoother. It's not as rapid a jump. And doing some air cutting and running that same G code, it's already removed a good portion of that shaking and rattling, because it's not taking off at full throttle and then slamming on the brakes to slow down before it overshoots the next point it's moving to. Now, by comparison, when I was running the Gatton CNC and the shoestring budget CNC before that, I got into Mach 3 and I looked at it. My acceleration was 4 inches per second. So I went more than 10 times faster on acceleration just with the factory settings here. That's a lot of mass to get moving that quick. So that helped tremendously. A lot of that shaking and moving is already eliminated. Now I'm still dialing it in. I'll probably end up slowing it down a little more. Now, is that going to add to machining time? Fractionally, maybe a few fractions of a second, but it's a heck of a lot better than what it was. Now, I've spoken to a few people who run Avid CNCs, and some of them are just perfectly fine with the factory settings. Some of them have had the same experience I've had. Now, I can't account for that discrepancy, but what I can say is that you have to kind of dial it in to your use and your purposes. Now, if I was flattening slabs all day long, I would have jumped on a 8.7 horsepower spindle, number one. Then I would probably speed up that acceleration a little more and probably speed up those rapid rates a little bit more, because it's basically just making passes, on the Y back and forth to level those slabs. It's not making a lot of stops and making small, short movements. So what I have to do is kind of balance those two things out. Now I'm going to be doing some cabinetry, and when I go to cut out those cabinets, I will probably speed up that acceleration a little bit more because I'm not going to be making a bunch of small movements. I might not, though. So the acceleration is one part of it. The other part that I did wrong was I was running way too fast a feed rate at 180 inches per minute, cutting those little inch and what is it, inch and I think they were inch and 3/8 diameter recesses. It was slinging that bit around so fast that, yeah, it was shaking the whole thing. That's on me. Again, this is a new machine. I have to learn the machine as well as not just its capacity and capabilities, but I have to learn what's appropriate. And to me, 180 inches per minute was just too fast to be cutting that tight of a circle. So, but live and learn, you know. Let's see. Peter Van Vliet says, does adjusting the acceleration affect the cutting feed rate too, or are they independent? They are independent. The feed rate is the rate at which the bit is going to move while it's cutting. The acceleration is how fast it goes from 0 to 60, for example, to get to that feed rate. So I slowed that down. It's still going to cut at the same feed rate. It's just going to take a few tenths of a second longer to get up to that speed. And on such a small little inch and 3/8 diameter circle, it may never get up to that feed rate because it's the control software. Mach 4 is always looking ahead at what it's got to do next before it gets there. And when it sees a change in direction or a plunge, it knows it's going to have to slow down from that feed rate to be able to do that in the right spot. So that slowdown is also a part of it. That also adds to that shake and that jerkiness. So, you know, let's see. Extreme Woodworkers says, I also have the same machine as you have. And from watching the video, the shaking on your machine is much greater than what I observe on mine. I am running factory settings. Okay, Steve. Yeah, I mean, there are a ton of variables. I seriously doubt you removed those front frame gussets to put a vertical work holding table in there. Also, remember, this table is not bolted down. Well, it's bolted down, but it's very loose because this is not the final location. I still have to take it off. I'm going to get some longer bolts because I'm still not happy with how much of the thread is engaged. And I had a comment on the YouTube channel this morning, on the video this morning, rather, from somebody who said that they had the same issue. They contacted Avid, and Avid sent out longer bolts. Well, I already have longer bolts on the way. I didn't think about getting a hold of Avid, but I will because, yeah, that's something that does need to be looked into. Yeah, and Steve says no vertical work holding on my machine, so the gussets are still in place. Yeah, I don't know how much of it has to do with those gussets. I would imagine it is a contributing factor. But let me show you something here. I'm gonna have to share my screen here. Share screen. Share this, and let's go. Pardon the time tunnel thing. Let me make sure I am sharing. I am. Okay. When you get into the spoil board design this is in the Avid setup instructions. When you get into the spoil board design, here's where you can download those files right there. You can go to that link and it'll take you there. But then I looked at the vertical work holding instructions, and this is the instructions on installing that frame extrusion. And they have two different ways you can mount it, two different suggestions. One is to leave this this front horizontal cross member in place and attach it to the one behind. Now, if I had a 4-foot by 8-foot machine, I might do this. But since I have a 4x4, this would take approximately 14 inches out of the front of my machine. So I would be basically going way back here and then attaching my vertical spoil board. I know it's a very small thumbnail off to the side, you can't really see, but I'd be attaching my vertical spoil board way back here and leaving this entire front area open. Well, I didn't want to do that. So I went with their other suggestion, which was this here, moving the front cross member back, leaving the gussets, the front gussets off. And they don't give you any suggestions. I just arbitrarily went with an 8-inch setback, figuring that that would give me 4 inches from the front face of this cross member to the inside of this cross member down here on the leg kit. I don't anticipate wanting to machine on the edge of anything bigger than 4 inches. It's not to say that I won't, just to say that I don't anticipate needing it. So at least not that long anyway, that would, interfere with this brace down here. So this is the setup that I went with. Now, as I say, this is all an experiment. This is all a learning curve from me. Excuse me. So I'm taking you along for the ride. And this dovetails in with that discussion I had earlier with my wife. And I'm sorry if it seems like I'm jumping around. I am jumping around. What I'm trying to do is show people who are brand new to CNC and that there is a learning curve after you've got it put together, after you've got all the software installed and you're jogging the machine around. There is still a learning curve. You have to learn the machine because I know that shoestring budget machine. I know it inside and out. I built it. I know the Gatton CNC inside and out. I assembled it. I'm learning this. They both of the previous machines had their own little idiosyncrasies. This one does as well. And as I say, it's the biggest, most powerful machine I've ever run. So I'm going to have to learn how to do this. It's like learning how to drive in an old Toyota Corolla and then getting into a Greyhound bus. Yes, you're holding onto a wheel and the gas and brake pedals are all in the same location, but that's the only similarity. It's a completely different world. So that's what that's where I'm going with that. Basically, is I'm sharing the experience and taking you guys along for the ride. And so some of you will have good suggestions for me, and I can tap in on some of your experience. But this is more or less for the absolute beginner when you are first getting started, like I am right now with this machine. You can hopefully learn from some of my mistakes, learn from some of my errors. So now see, who was it? We've got a lot of questions and I'm going to try to get them all. Okay. Somebody was asking, let me find it. Boy. Oh man, let's. Okay, first of all, Les Clemens, did you get any weight put underneath that monster? Not yet. That's coming soon. But somebody asked another question about the. Okay, I can't find it. It must have been part of a question I already asked and then unmarked. Let's see. John Thompson says, couldn't you have put the cross members in different places along the side rails so not to lose worktop? Yes, I could. I could adjust that. But I'm trying to, and I still might. And I'm trying to find that sweet spot where I can have it all. For instance, let me jump over here real quick. I'm also considering bringing this back up here to the front and putting those gussets into place, then readjusting these cross members here. These cross members do a lot more than just uh, keep space and provide a place to mount your spoil board. They also provide torsional bracing. So they need to be spaced, much like the studs in the wall in your house. They need to be spaced fairly regularly so that I don't have more bracing up here and then nothing in the middle, or more in the back, or what have you. I've got to keep them kind of evenly spaced, and that may take a little bit of backing and forthing and figuring out. Now, I don't think if I do move this forward up here again and then bring this cross member up to about 8 inches away from this cross member, I still should be all right. That would be moving this cross member about 5 inches forward and still give me plenty of meat there and still give me plenty of capacity. Um, Lewis Denton is asking, did that reduce my working surface to 40 by 48? Roughly, yes. But I still could, it's kind of sketchy. I could still hang a piece over the front of that table, not by much, but I could still hold it a little bit in front of that table and be able to cut something a little bit longer than 40. Now, as I did on the Gatton CNC, when I go to lay out this spoil board for real, I'm going to go ahead and chuck a black Sharpie in my 1/2 inch collet and run it all the way to the back until I hit the limits, move it forward slightly, and then draw a line across the x-axis and then measure from there to the front of the machine. And that will be the depth of the spoil board. I have to be able to surface the entire spoil board so I don't have a ridge in the back that would prevent me from holding everything down. That is still what I'm going to do. And that will give me an accurate representation, an accurate measurement on the capacity. But as it sits right now, it's actually the X capacity is just slightly over 49 inches from side to side. And that's built in so that you can mount a sheet of MDF, which is always, MDF and particle board are always 1 inch larger than represented. So there is that. But yes, I could. Let's see. Let's see here. So to keep the front member, cross member on the front of the machine. Yeah, I may go back to that. I haven't decided yet. And that's part of this process. So can you buy an additional cross member to more effectively use more space for the table? Yes, I can. Yes, I can. You can get individual pieces and parts. It does get pricey though, because this extrusion is by 80/20. It's the 40 series extrusion. It's pricey. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do what I can and avoid that. Now, if I have to buy some more, I have to buy some more, and that's all there is to it. Uh, in fact, if you've watched Jay Bates, when he set up his Avid CNC, he actually bolted 2x4s to the insides. Let me get up again here. He actually bolted 2x4s inside these cross members and attached everything with that. And I considered it. I mean, that would stiffen it up quite a bit, but I don't think it's necessary. I'm trying to do what I can with what came with the kit before I start buying a bunch more, extrusion and closing things in and boxing things in, etc. Also, let's remember that I just built the machine. So after that toolpath was run, after that project was run, I went around and systematically broke it into sections and, you know, uh, tightened down fasteners again. And nothing was extremely loose. It'll probably need 2 or 3 jobs to run on it before anything really loosens up. But I figured with that much shaking, I probably loosened something. And nothing, like I said, nothing was extremely loose, but I will have to go back through and torque everything again. And that's going to be an ongoing thing that I discovered with the 2 previous machines I was using. For the first few jobs, it's settling in, and parts that have never been bolted together before are getting used to one another, and there's going to be a little bit of loosening. So I did use Loctite on it, but still that's going to be the case. I mean, you guys who have worked on vehicles know that when you torque down a head, even though you have used Loctite or what have you, and no matter how tight you tighten it up, you still have to go back and retorque after so many hours of use or so many miles of driving. Well, that's what I'm going to have to do on this as well. So let me see here. Al Peleg says, can you please say again what where what were the default speed and acceleration on this cut? I set the speed. The feed rate was 180 inches per minute, and that was just too fast for that tool path. And the way I got that was I used an Amana Spectra bit 1/4 inch end mill, Spectra coated 1/4 inch end mill, downcut, and I went to Amana's website and I got the suggested chip load for that bit. I then went into Aspire and I adjusted my feed rate and spindle RPMs, which is also a new experience for me, as I've never used a spindle that was controlled by the software before. And I adjusted them until I got that chip load. And the feed rate was, to me, just too high for that. So that's where I got that info anyway. Okay, let's get into some of your questions here. Jim Matthews wants to know, was it difficult to line up the Tnuts under the holes you machined out? No. I think I would have been putting quarters in the square jar if I had to align that many. Actually, it was very easy. There were 5 Tnuts that went into each slot. And all I did was I measured the center of where each recess is supposed to go and took that measurement. And if you watch the video, I dropped all the Tnuts in, then came back with a tape and set that spacing. So when I got it cut and put it down, I took my little screwdriver and just I had to adjust just a little bit. There is that recess is 1 3/8 diameter, and then the mounting slot, there's a slot in there that's about 1 wide, and I think I missed the center by 1/8 on one of them, but the rest of them I was able to drop that bolt right down in there, and it, just maybe move it a little bit to get it into the center, but they were very easy to align. So let's see here. Steve over at Extreme Woodworker wants to know, what are you using for hose support on your Z-axis? Thank you for asking that, because I was going to do a mea culpa at the end of this. I mentioned in the video Russell Tyndall over at Blue Line Wood Flags. He's the one who I talked to about this dust shoe from one guy in a shop. And he did a video which I linked. I linked his YouTube channel in the description of this video and in the main video, but I forgot to come right out and mention it. He 3D printed me that hose support right there. And it is a beautiful piece. Take that loose, pull that clamp off, and it bolts on to the front of this red cable track piece on the front of the Z-axis. The cable track uses the top two threaded holes on my machine, and this bolts on to the bottom two holes. I had to go out and buy a couple of socket head cap screws. I believe they're M5 by 16 millimeter. I may be wrong. Please don't quote me on that. When I get into the dust collection video, I will talk more about this mount. But it bolts right on. Slip the hose right down in there. I have these quick grip hose clamps. Slip it right down over the machine, over the dust shoe. Bring this down, and there we go. Then as you saw in the video, I can just pull it loose, take this off, throw a little bit more down there, and vacuum up any stray dust. It is a very, very slick system. And Russ, thank you very, very much. Now, full disclosure here, I do not have a 3D printer. So I got a hold of him and asked him what he would charge me to print one for me, because I don't have a 3D printer. And there was a nominal fee. I paid him. He made it for me. But you can go to his website. If you go to that link in the down in the description of this video and the main video, go check out that video where he's adding LED lighting underneath the gantry beam. He shows that hose mount. There's also a link to his website, which I'll put down in the description of this video and the next video. There's a link to his website where you can download the STL files for free. If you have a 3D printer, you can print them up yourself. And he did a dynamite job on them. I was going to kind of wait a little bit and talk about that mainly in the dust collection video, which will be coming soon. But all of that is thanks to Russell Tyndall over at Blue Line Wood Flags. And it's awesome. And like I said, he's the guy who turned me on to he's the guy who turned me on to this dust shoe. And oh man, does it work. So let's see here. Let's see. Dave Blackburn says, wouldn't the plywood you're going to put for the vertical holding add enough stiffening? Well, it'll help. It'll certainly help. But this is kind of a multi-layered approach. You know, I don't think there's any one answer to the stiffening. I think it's just, and that's why I'm doing one thing at once. The first thing I did was I slowed down the acceleration. Then I can gauge and I can see, okay, that took away this much of the shaking and jumping and trembling. So now I can, as soon as the longer bolts get here, I can fasten that down, tighten it down completely. Then we'll see how that does. There was a recommendation by somebody earlier in one of the comments about adding a second piece underneath and to make more or less a torsion box, I may do that, but I'm going to do it step by step to see how much of a change there is with each step. So another question I got was, why didn't I just use MDF for this surface as well as my spoil board surface? Well, as I said, with as much dense fog as we get here, MDF just melts. I've experienced that. So by going with MDO board, the layers of the plywood are glued together with waterproof glue, and then that resin impregnated paper bonded over the top of it with waterproof glue. It basically seals it everywhere. I didn't just drill a hole in it, and I'll be going back and sealing that myself. So Ray Jones says, could you put the corner supports upside down from the bottom cross member to the legs? And I have thought about that. That hit me last night, and I thought, you know what? I wonder if that would do anything. And I may do that just to see if there's any effect. But the first thing I did was, like I say, slow down the acceleration, and I may do just that. So your point is very well taken. Okay, let's see here. All right, let's get into a few other questions we have here. Brooks Martin wanted to know, have you ever used Cactus Juice to stabilize wood? Short answer, no, I haven't. And that's simply because I have not had occasion to need it yet. Cactus juice is a resin that is usually used in conjunction with the pressure pot to impregnate a piece of punky wood or material with this liquid resin. Then you wrap it up in foil and put it in a oven to cure said resin. I've just not had occasion to need it. From what everybody talks about who I've seen used it, they love the stuff. That, and if I put something like that in my wife's fairly new oven, she would have my head mounted on the living room wall, and for good reason. And I just don't have any place to put a oven out here for me to use that, for me to cure that stuff. So yeah, no, I haven't used it, but from what I gather, it's all works very well. So okay, Ted Paselk, am I wrong there? Where do you adjust the acceleration, in Vcarve or in Mach 4? In Mach 4. That is not done on Vcarve or Aspire at all, and you can't control the acceleration in Vcarve. I'm going to I'll do a little screenshot of changing the acceleration in Mach 4 when I do the video on all this. But it is in motor tuning. You get into Mach 4, into configuration, and go into motors, then select the motor that you want to change the acceleration on, and change the number, apply, go to the next motor, change the number, apply, keep going all the way down the list until you have the acceleration on all your motors changed, and then go from there. Mach 3, it was very similar, but there's a couple of other steps that you have to take. But yeah, that's not done in Vcarve or Aspire, and there's no way to do that in either. So let's see here. Take the easy ones first. Jay Human wants to know, question about Vcarve Pro. I have version 11, but my brother has version 10. Is there a way for me to send him a file that he can open? Short answer is no. You can open files done on version 10, but he can't open files done on version 11. The only way around that would be to save it in like a DXF format, or something that will just give the vectors but no tool pathing or anything like that. And then he'll have to import that DXF and come up with his own tool pathing. So it's a good reason for him to go ahead and upgrade to version 11. But do know that even within version 11, if he upgrades to the newest version, which is 11.016, if he comes up with a file in 11.016 and you haven't updated, you're at 11.015, you won't be able to open his file. You have to be concurrent. So let's see here. Lewis Denton wants to know, does Vectric automatically relocate datum point to the center of work when you create a toolpath in Photo? I'm guessing Photo Vcarve. No, you set the XY datum. And if you, let me get over here and unhide that, and we'll get over here into Aspire. If you set your XY datum to the center over here, like I have, do all of your tool pathing and or do all of your design work and everything. The way I do it is once I've got that done, because I set my XYZ0 on the machine down to the bottom left corner, I come over here into material setup, and that's where I change my datum position right there. And you can see it already changed my origin down to the bottom left corner. I check to make sure this is all good, click OK. Now I could go into any toolpath to include Photo Vcarve, and it's not going to change that origin. So something else you have done may have changed that origin, but it doesn't automatically change it, or it shouldn't. If it is, get a hold of Vectric support, because that should not be happening. So let's see. Les Clements says, what do you think about taking MDF and coating it with shellac instead of using MDO? When I lay down the spoil board, I'm going to be using MDF. In fact, you can see it. That's it. That tall piece right there. That's the scrap MDO from the tabletop here. And that's will make an appearance later on. That's what I do. I seal, after I get it glued down, I seal all the edges and the surface after I surface it with shellac. So doing the tabletop with MDF, I wanted something a lot more stable. So I went with plywood with the MDO board. I mean, it may work for you. I just haven't really had a good experience with it. So let's see here. Get into some more of these. Dave Kraus, another short answer. Has anyone tried this Roseburg Armorite Outdoor MDF? Your question was the very first time I'd ever heard of it. So I looked into it, and I'm going to be ordering some samples, and I'll give you my opinion when I've used it. It probably won't be an immediate thing. It'll probably be somewhere way down the road, because I'll want to try it, put it in an outdoor environment, and just watch it and see what happens. But no, I've not used it, but it looks very interesting. So watch this space. Let's see here. Ronald Cool says, hi all, after importing a bitmap image into Aspire, how can you export that image back to desktop? I lost the picture, but it's in Aspire. Ooh, you know what? That's a good one, Ronald. I don't know if there is a way to do that or not. Let me go back over here into Aspire, and let me find my cursor. I don't know if I have any bitmaps here or not. Let's see. Let's do that. I know it's a weird thing. And now I'll go up here and I'll rename this file so that it's no longer available. And let's see, let's just go do that. Okay. So now let's see, is there a way? Object properties, no, close that. Selection, nope. Well, what I can do from just from personal experience, Ronald, just click on it, right click, copy, and go into Paint, drag it over to this monitor, and paste. Oh, Control V, and it didn't do it. Okay, all right. Well, that doesn't work. Let's see here. Open up Let's go to export. No. Selection. Nope, I am not seeing a way to. Okay, you don't have the model that many of those things in Vcarve. Well, no, you're talking about you have Aspire. Let's go down here to the picture editor. And I don't see any way of exporting the picture there. Let's go into, oh, no, that's crop the bitmap, and I don't have that. I don't see a way to do that, Ronald. So I know it's nothing that you want to hear, but you can. Let's see here what y'all are saying. Michael Mazalik says you can use the snipping tool in Window. You can use the snipping tool in Windows, and to that same effect, you can, move your cursor away from it, and then down on your keyboard, hit the print screen button on your keyboard. What that does is that captures the entire desktop that you have up to the clipboard. Then open up Paint and Control V, and it pastes that entire image into Paint. Then come back and crop. Now, that's not a good option usually because look at how big it is. You lose a lot of resolution. If you ultimately, Ronald, if you didn't delete the image or don't think you've deleted the image, let me get rid of that. Search for it. Search for it on your computer. I mean, going down and to the bottom where the of your taskbar and search for it there. But if you deleted it, you may just have to look for it again. Now you can, yeah, I mean, you may just have to go find it and download it again. JR, thank you very much for the super chat. You are a gentleman, and I really, really appreciate it more than you will ever know. Wow. Yeah, I would Let's see. IL Peleg says in Windows 10, you can press the Windows Shift S to be able to easily take partial screenshots. Okay, I'm going to have to experiment with that. I've never done that before. So, other than that, Ronald, I'm sorry to say you may just kind of be out of luck. Sorry. Let's see here now. Got a lot of questions that I really need to get to because we're already at almost an hour. Larry Stoss wants to know, can the rope border in clip art be manipulated to get a smaller diameter when the border is used in a larger setting? First question would be, are you using Vcarve or Aspire? Because there are certain things you can do in Aspire that you cannot do in Vcarve. Generally speaking, in fact, I'm not going to share screen just yet. I want to look at something here before I even bring it up. Borders, aren't there two different rope borders? Aren't there a couple of, yeah, there are different sizes of rope rectangle and rope circle. And you also have that rope link that you can create your own border and then size it as well. But as far as manipulating the smaller to get a smaller diameter, you're kind of limited. You're using Vcarve Pro. Okay, you're very limited as to what you can do. Let me go ahead and share screen here, and we'll get into the. If you look over here, you have, for instance, the rope rectangle. Well, there is another one here that is slightly smaller. There's a rope oval, a large rope circle, and then a smaller rope circle. These can be scaled, but come on. Come on. Load it up. What are you waiting for? Okay. Now, for some reason, it's not responding. Come on, Aspire. Don't lock up on me. There we go. Okay. Just took it a minute. It had to think, I guess. It will auto scale as you make it larger or smaller. But as far as, for instance, the width here, you're pretty much stuck. But if you look at this rope circle, for example, it is made up of a bunch of different links. And oh boy, it added several there because I kept playing with it. Let me delete that. And delete that. It added 3 or 4 because I kept double clicking. All right, there we go. So we should be down. Yeah, okay. It is made up of several separate links. Each one of these links is one of these right here. You can get into the clip art, and there is the rope link right there. Then adjust the size of that link, for example, and then create your own rope from there. Now, I'm not sure that that's an option in Vcarve. I believe you have that available to you in Vcarve, but I'm not 100% certain. So look for it. But as far as being able to get in and manipulate the width of the rope, you're very limited in Vcarve. Now we come over here into the modeling tab. With this selected, I can go and get into the properties. And you can scale the height up here in the shape height. So right now this is currently 0.28 inches. And if I look in my 3D view, we can see that, how thick it is. Now I can get up here and just so it's a dramatic difference, I'll go 0.5, let it update, and you can see how that is scaled up. Or I can get in here and do 0.125, let it update, and you can see how much shorter it is. It's not doing anything to scale the thickness or the width. So, okay, Michael just corrected me, and I was hoping you would jump in. That is not available in Vcarve. The single link is not there, and this circle rope is baked, so it's one piece. Okay, all right. So that's not an option for you in Vcarve. I apologize. I was hoping you would jump in, Michael. So, yeah, as far as diameter is concerned, there's not a lot you can do. Sorry to say. But, been there, done that. That's one of the reasons why I jumped up to Aspire, was to be able to do that. So let's see here. All right. Is this Brian Alexander? Let's see if I got that right. Probably not. Sorry to butcher your name. Could you please tell me about your experience with 3D carvings? Which step over do you prefer for detailed carvings for 1/16 tapered ball nose bit? I, generally speaking, keep the step over on a tapered ball nose. I keep it under 10%. I have gone down as low as 6%, but anywhere between 8 and 10% is, generally speaking, my default. It just depends on the project. And what I mean by that is, if you're doing a 3D carving, it's going to be mounted on the wall, 6 feet up a wall, and it's going to be seen from 10 feet away. You don't need that level of detail. If it's something held in your hand, you do. So I let the project decide the step over. And the preview in Vcarve and Aspire is pretty ding dong accurate. So if you're seeing little trails and ridges, go back into that tool path and drop it down a percentage point, recalculate and preview it again. Do know that you may never get 100% perfect, and there's always going to be a little bit of finishing and finish sanding. I have yet to get a project that is 100% finish ready straight off the machine. That's just me. So your mileage may vary on that. I almost always find a little bit of detail sanding that needs to be done. So, but the short answer to the long question is, start at about 8% and see how that works for you. Let's see. Also, would you cut the finishing tool pat in half using 2 rectangles in order to work a really long carving into 2 separate days? 12 hours each day, for example. That can be done. I'm not going to say yes. I'm not going to say no, simply because I've not needed to do that, and I've not experienced that, or experienced the need to do that. But that is something for me to explore. So let me write myself a note here. And I'll put this on the list to explore, and there may be a video on it later on. Now, someone you can talk to who is in the chat right now is Michael Mazalik. Head over to his YouTube channel, and I'll put a link to it. What I'm going to start doing, Michael, is I'm going to start just putting a link to your channel in the description of my videos and my live streams by default, because you are the guru. Head over to Michael Mazalik's channel and look into some of his 3D carving videos. The man's a master and has forgotten more than I have ever learned. He is my guru. So I've not done that. So let's see. Ted Paselk, thank you for becoming a channel member. You rock, my friend. If you go to my channel homepage, just basically after this is over with, click on my name down below the video. Then right below my banner, click on community. The top uh, post on my community tab is a link to tomorrow's live members only live stream. We start at 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern. Tomorrow night, our special guest is going to be Alan Heffernan, and he's going to walk us through his experience in carving a very cool skeleton clock that he made with his Onefinity. And I'm looking forward to this. It's an awesome clock. I've been interested in skeleton clocks forever. So, yeah, Michael, it's not already there. I mean, who knew? Steve, you are the man. Steve Nealon, uh, Harneal Media, sponsor of MarkLindsayCNC.com. This is why I say the man is everywhere. He's awesome. There's a link to Michael Mazalik's YouTube channel. Head over there and check him out. And Ted, I hope to see you tomorrow at the members only live stream. Beautiful. Let's see here. I think I have one more question up here. Yes, from Mario Montoya, who wants to know, doing a pocket with 1/4, 8, and 30-second clearance tools. The 1/32 bit spends a lot of time pecking around and pathing in areas I think are not needed. Okay. How do I delete specific clearance toolpaths that are visible with the toolpath 2D drawing visibility button? You really can't. You would have to get in and edit the G code after that. What the software, and I know exactly what you're talking about. It's kind of like the CNC version of dithering on a inkjet or laser printer. Well, not so much a laser, but on an inkjet printer, where it's going in and, in this case, removing little areas where it thinks there could be material left standing that the previous bits didn't get. I know exactly what you're talking about. It drives me nuts as well. Without going in and editing the G code, I don't know of a way of getting rid of that. And that is something that has bugged me from the get-go, but I've not yet found a way of getting rid of it. You know, it is very, very time-consuming. I mean, I think it's a law and definitely a rite of passage that if you use Vectric software, you have to cut one of Michael Tyler's Paradise boxes. You log into your V and Company account and go into free monthly projects. It's been up there forever. It is a fabulous project. It's a rite of passage. You basically have to cut one. I think it's a law. But here, I'm here to tell you, everybody I've ever made one for has absolutely fallen in love with the thing. So there is that. And we're not too far away from the holiday season. So, you know, but there is a lot of what I call dithering in those, uh, in the lid and the side panels. And you look at it and you think, what the actual heck? Why does it need to do that? But then if you watch what it's removing, it may be an infinitesimal thing, but it is legit. It's removing that one little ridge or that one little piece that you and I would probably sand out, Mario, but it's, what can I say? It's the nature of the beast. Um, and I haven't found a way of getting rid of that without going in and editing out G code or editing the G code. And that's something I'm just not willing to spend the time to do. So I think an extra minute or two on the machine, you know, I'm just an additional sip of coffee and let it do its thing. So, okay. Donovan's Homes became a member. You were already a member, man. What did you do? Did you cancel and then rejoin? That's okay. Welcome aboard anyway, and hope to see you tomorrow night. Um, and yes, for those of you who are following the, I'll just say it. For those of you who are following Matt Cremona, this is that Donovan, and very cool guy. Get over and subscribe to his channel. He has one of the absolute coolest CNC machines you will ever see in your life. It's called a Yeti Smart Bench. Watch this space. There may be more on that later on. No, I'm not getting one, but maybe more on the topic soon. He's got a very, very cool CNC router. Get over to his channel and check it out. I'll put a link in the description. And can't wait to see more projects done on that, Donovan. So I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I think I got everybody's question. Let's see here. Okay. Brooks Martin, this is, you're getting confused like me. This is something that we talked about in the members only live stream, but a cupped piece of material. After removing a bunch of material, it kind of cupped upwards a little bit. He sprayed it with a little bit of water and weighed it down, and that seems to have removed the cup. Glad to hear it. We can get into it a little bit more tomorrow. Steve, see what I mean? See what I mean? This is why I say this guy is awesome. There's a link to Donovan's YouTube channel. Get over there after this is over with. Get over there and subscribe and check out his awesome, awesome CNC router. Steve, you're the man. You're the man. Okay, let's. Okay, now I know that it shuts off after an hour if it doesn't receive anything. Let's go ahead and let's end this. I want to thank everybody for everything, the super chats, the new channel members, for watching the video, for commenting on the video, for, challenging me on what's going on here and giving me food for thought and things that I need to look into. I know some of you more seasoned veterans with big machines like this are probably, not only just laughing up your sleeve, you're probably snickering wide out in the open at what some of the things that I'm going through, but I'm doing this for a reason. Please understand. I have a reason for doing this. And that is I'm not the only one who's trying to learn this thing from the get-go. So if I can help somebody learn through my mistakes or let them see what I'm doing to get more used to the machine and learn what it can and can't do and learn how to control it, then it's worth it to me. A couple of folks have said that by slowing down acceleration and slowing down feed rates, I won't be using the machine to its maximum potential. Well, that's true. But just because it can do that doesn't mean that it really should right at this moment. I mean, you have a truck, and that truck is capable of carrying a ton in the bed and towing 10,000 pounds. But if you don't have a ton in the bed and you aren't towing 10,000 pounds every time you leave your driveway, you're not using your truck to its maximum potential. So that's how I relate it. I don't need to go 50 inches per second. I'm not trying to get 1,000 parts a day out the door. I don't need to use 180 inches per minute on that small of a diameter circle. Again, I'm not trying to get 1,000 parts a day out the door. I'm trying to do one project as accurately as possible, and I'm dialing it in for my use. So it's a learning experience for all of us, and I hope you're willing to come along for the ride. And thank you to everybody who has shared, everybody who has liked, commented on the videos, and a major shout out to all the channel members. And members only live stream tomorrow. Alan Heffernan and his awesome skeleton clock. Be there or be square. Till then, until then, have a great rest of your weekend, folks, and we'll see you next week. It'll be an open Q&A, no video next week. I have to go out of town. My wife has a parade, so wish me luck. See you later. Have a good one.